Okay, so today we're going to talk about something that may be a little triggering, and that's okay. I'm willing. I'm here at the leading edge of let me trigger you if it helps you. And some people may not agree, and that's okay too. But I'm here to help the people that want to be helped. And I know that when I myself was dealing with two, but one was incurable disease that doctors told me, you've got to have this big body part out or you're not going to live. And I said, no, 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 because I know universal principles are true. And I knew, just like I'm telling you here, that everything that's wrong with our body is a result of unprocessed emotions, whether it be trauma or just unprocessed emotions, or us not living to our highest values. Those are the two things. And I just had a group coaching call or a group live on this, and I'm going to kind of say some of the same things that I said. And it really boils down to understanding universal principles. And so what I want to share with you is that science is now proving, like quantum physicists are proving, that metaphysical laws, universal laws, spiritual texts are true. Now, quantum science has only been around 150 years, but these principles, we're talking, Hermes, is that how you say it? Way pre-biblical, thousands of years, not decades, not centuries, but thousands of years, these universal principles. So these universal principles are universal and they're true. They're universal laws, right? Well, if universal laws tell us as above, so below, which by the way, the Bible does too, then why do we think so often that it doesn't include our physical bodies? Why do we think that? And I can take this conversation and I can talk about a fender bender or a low bank balance. I can do it all day long because it all applies. Everything that we see and experience outside of us is some sort of reflection inside of us. But today's video is really about your physical body and your health and things that go wrong. So first of all, and I'm going to say this with universal principles, the first thing that we know is the two things I told you, that is that unprocessed emotions, especially trauma, especially before we were age 7, but ongoing trauma too, and not living to our fullest values. Those are the two things that will get stuck in your body, and that if not dealt with, will manifest, meaning come from the emotional to the physical, will manifest somewhere in your body. The book that is like, gosh, when I was in my undergrad in psychology and my daughter as a therapist, it is the most well-known book in therapy, and it's called The Body Keeps Score by, what's his name, Van Bessel, I think. I talk about him in a couple of my books. Point being that you can say whatever you want. You can say, no, I got tonsillitis because I was exposed to it. Or you can say, no, I hurt my back because I shouldn't have been doing all those back bends. You can say all of that, and I'm not denying that there's truth to it. I'm not denying that. What I am saying, though, is every single thing that happens to you somehow, some way, is a reflection. I have this, and I took it off my wall to show my group coaching, and I'm showing you the Rabi chart. You will see this. You've probably seen this if you've gone to a chiropractor, an acupuncturist. This tells you where in your anatomy you hold beliefs. Like when I rolled my ankle, and it was really bad. It was a snap. The ankle on that particular side has to do with mommy issues, and it has to do with inflexibility. And I want to point out one more thing I want to show you. And this is my Bible, metaphysical, relating all the things that happen in our body to where they come out. We just think, oh, I had this trauma or this emotion that I never processed when I was 3 years old. I don't even remember what it was. And now it's coming out, and it's always going to come out as this cancer or as this IBS, or as this, injury in my knee. And then we do what humans do, and we want to be out of the pain. And that's okay, because I'm telling you that once something manifests as physical, it's a much slower, lower vibration. And now that it's in the physical realm, in the 3D, you can't just think it away. I mean, you can, but how are you going to do that if you're in pain? So when something happens with your body and you're uncomfortable or you're in pain, do what you need to do in the physical to take care of it. I'm not a big fan of pharmaceuticals, but sometimes you got to take a pill or a shot. Heaven forbid if you have to have something cut out, but sometimes you do. No judgment here. I'm just saying there are lots and lots and loads of natural approaches you can take. But let me tell you, if my appendix burst, get my butt to a hospital. If I was, heaven forbid, in a hospital or in a car accident, go stitch me up and give me blood, whatever. Western medicine, absolutely, especially for acute trauma, has a time and a place. And MRIs and all that stuff. So I'm not knocking Western medicine. I'm saying we need to incorporate alternative and frequency medicine because it makes a big difference. So when these things happen and you feel it in your body, take care of it. Don't be in pain, right? Go to a chiropractor, go to an acupuncturist, go to a medical doctor if you want to, go to a naturopath. Most all things can be healed with a combination of diet, emotional clearing, frequency work, microcurrent work, most all things. My microcurrent collection can heal bones, broken bones. But does that mean if I break my bone, I might not go to a doctor? Well, I'm here to tell you that one time I did, and I didn't go to a doctor, and I did heal it. I'm not advocating that, and I'm not a doctor. Full disclaimer, time out, disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying that based on my experience and my education and my understanding, that I will always opt for an alternative path when possible. But I will never say, no, don't take me to the ER if I need it, okay? What I'm trying to get you to look at deeper here is once you get the pain out of your body, if you didn't process the emotion that caused it in the first place, which we'll call the root cause, if you didn't clear that out, it's going to come back. It's going to come back in the same place or a different place or as a different condition. All autoimmune disorders, all autoimmune disorders, cancers, right? All of these issues. Notice how every one of our chakras are related to our 7 main glandular systems. So the endocrine, the cardiovascular, I mean, all of our glands, our thyroid, they're all related to a chakra. You don't think that the Hindus just made this up and the Eastern philosophies just made chakras up, do you? No, because if you, let's say root chakra, that has to do with stability and safety. And most of the women that I work with, and some of the men, have root chakra issues because they don't feel safe. Maybe they were traumatized when they were young. Maybe they were molested. Maybe they were, beaten down or spoken down to. And so they may have root chakra issues. Well, when I run the frequency scan on them, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute, that always shows up. The root will show up. And then how does that show up in the body? IBS, digestion, lots of women who have been sexually abused have second chakra issues because that's where the female sexuality is. That's where the reproductive organs are, right? A lot of people are told that to shut up when they're young, and then they get thyroid issues, right? So all I'm saying is whenever something's in your physical body, it's always feedback. Your body is manifesting from the energetic into the material to show you what's been going on emotionally. That is the main thing that I hope and pray I can get across. We look at these universal laws and we're like, okay, I believe this. This has been around for thousands of years. Quantum science is now proving it. So anything that is happening outside of me is happening inside of me. And we think it applies when it's convenient. But if I break my thumb or, get a liver disease or get in a car accident, no, except for that doesn't matter. That's separate. No, it's not. It's all related. Whatever's out there reflecting back at you is something that you projected out. So the goal is not to sit here and split hairs about it. It's not to say, well, how did you cause that? Because that's not about blame. I'm right here with you. I didn't make this stuff up. I'm just a teacher of it. And I'm a teacher of it because I've been a lifelong student of it. And I've gone through health crises that you cannot believe. Maybe you have too. Maybe mine is worse. Maybe yours is worse. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's all relative to who we are, right? But I've had a lot of bad times in my life. And it was as soon as I realized that it was all of the emotions and all of the self-talk, unconscious, that was being projected back at me, because I was projecting it out and it was reflecting it back. Okay. And so that's when the real change happened in my life. And that's what I have committed to spending the rest of my life. I mean, I don't ever plan on retiring until I'm dead. And then I'm sorry, but I have to quit. But other than that, I'm going to keep going, because this is the message. Is everything out there it's an inside job. That is the message. In fact, I'm going to create a new coaching program, a group coaching program that might be called Inside Job, right? Because it's an inside job. We have to look inside. And what happens is we bitch about everything outside, and then it pops up as a tumor. And it was just showing us what we're thinking inside. And now we're fighting the tumor. Now we're like, oh my God, how did I get this? I gotta go online. I gotta do fast. I gotta be a vegetarian. I gotta go fly to Mexico and get this cure. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel better, and work on it on the physical, because now that it's manifest, you got to deal with it. But do not dismiss the importance of the metaphysical and the energetic and the emotional components. Okay, so now this is what I want to tell you about. One of the things back in the day when I first started out in my practice, I think it's been 26 years, maybe, I don't know, somewhere around there. When I first, I did psychology, I was going to be a therapist, and then I went into hypnotherapy, and I actually had an office that I shared with a licensed therapist, a marriage family therapist, very progressive, by the way, kind of like my daughter is. But I did my hypnotherapy, and I was a wellness coach, and I actually had 2 physicians in Sacramento who let me have my business cards and my books at their practice, their clinics, because they understood, they were progressive, and they understood that every physical issue has an emotional component. And if you don't, they'll give you the medicine and the IVs and the adjustments and the pills, but if you don't address the emotional, it's going to come back. And I deal mostly with people over 40, mostly over 50, I think. And this is the time when all of these things start. Sorry, my dog. Hey, I don't need you to dig my carpet. She's getting upset because I'm getting so animated and excited. You don't need to wait until you get a disease. And so that's my big thing now. Before it was just like, I want to help people manifest and grow abundance and, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you that if you haven't processed the emotions, if you haven't done this work, then as you get older, your body is going to bark back. And it may bark back by a ski accident. It may bark back by a tumor. It may bark back by indigestion, but it's going to bark back. So one of the things I do, in fact, for any of my clients, if you have, even if you're not in one of my group programs, if you're in my private practice, even if you only do 1 coaching session with me, then you get that week to be on that Friday's live YouTube. Even if you just do 1 session. And if you buy a package of 3, then you get 3 of those, right? So that is important, and you get the replay for as long as you want it. But that is important because it's what we're talking about. If we don't deal with the emotional and pull it up out, then it's going to find another way, right? The body keeps score 100%. But one of the things I'm super happy, as I was saying about the hypnotherapy and doing wellness coaching, is I've really gotten over the last few years, and I've always done energy work from a distance, but I don't put that like on Facebook or YouTube. I'm very private about that, but not anymore, because you know what? The world is changing and I'm not getting any younger, and I'm just going to be who I am. And so I have behind the screen radionics devices, machines. I do frequency work. And if you're in my group program or we do private sessions, you know all about this. But I have decided, and this was a huge, I'm going to do this. I've decided that I'm going to start doing scans and optimizations for the general public, whoever wants it. I'm telling you right now, I'm not a doctor. I do not heal disease. I do not diagnose disease. But what I can do with my scanner is I have to have a picture of you. I have to have a voice sample of you. I have to have your date of birth and your weight and a few different, and your email address. But I'm able to take your voice scan and play it against a database of, thousands of frequencies and do a scan on your body, just the energetics, just the frequency, and the voice does your emotion. And so what you get when I email you back is you'll get those tones that will help balance out your emotions. Because remember, all illness, all disease, all lack of success, all low bank balances, it's always, always about your emotions. It's about your energy. Okay. Super, super important you understand that. And you'll also get a full report. And so you'll see, like I just said, it'll show you what chakras are off. But the best part to me is that when it does the scan, it automatically goes right into the optimization. So let's say your root chakra is overly activated. After it scans it, it's going to optimize. So you'll see the difference in the scan of here's where you were when the scan was taken and here's where it ended up. And so then your job is just to keep it at an elevated or reduced state, to keep it at a balanced state. And you can do that through listening to the tones that will be included. So normally I charge $150 for the scan. You don't talk to me. We don't have a conversation. We don't get on a Zoom call. It's just $150 for you to give me all this information, and I run the scan and the optimization and the voice analysis on you, and you get an email and you find out everything, and then you can print out the report and you can geek out on it all you want to. Remember, it's not medical, it's energetic. And that's usually $150. This summer, until I'm booked out, I'm doing it for $111. 111, right? 111, really good numbers, right? Angel numbers. So 111. Also, I normally charge, is it $250 to include all of that I just said, plus a 1-hour conversation, which could include a little hypnotherapy. It could include some EFT. It could include some breath work. But it's really going to help you, and it's definitely going to include some. Let's look at what's going on. If there's a body thing going on, we're going to look at the metaphysical causes of that, and I'm going to help you get to the root of it. If it's a money thing, we're going to get to the root cause of that, and we're going to work on that. So that hour, and often people pay me $500 an hour for a conversation. So that is normally I think it's normally $280, but I'm doing that right now for $180, a ridiculously low price until I'm booked out. And, because I'm not a big fan of trading time for money, but I'm doing this as a way to be of service. But I have to get paid, right? I have to pay my mortgage. I have to pay myself. And I find over time, when I do things for free or really super cheap, people don't value them. And that's not a reflection of you personally or a reflection of me personally. It's just how the world is. We have so much information we're being bombarded with, so many toxins in our food and our environment, so much 5G in our heads, that we really, really have to be present and pay attention. And when we pay attention. And I'm the same way. If someone gives me something free, I'm like, yeah, okay, when I get to it. I don't care how great they say it is. But if I invest a couple $100, I'm going to pay attention. So that's the whole point. Now, if you have questions, click on the link below and let's set up a time to chat. So, and we can have a quick phone call and I can tell you more about it because, it's totally up to you. And I will also under this video include the links to just sign up. If you're like, yeah, I've heard enough, let's do this thing. And then we'll get it done. Okay. Have a beautiful day and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now.